morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast, the podcast where Steve and I chat about all things Porsche. It's, what day is it, Steve? It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, but we're recording this on a Wednesday. Hi, Steve.
Hi, mate. How you going?
I'm okay. Once again, it's morning. It's 6:54. It's actually not as early this morning. We record this on a Wednesday. It's Friday's episode. You guys are listening to it on Friday. I know a lot of you guys listen to it on a Saturday. I'm in Bahrain. My name is Michael Barth, and Steve is still in Sydney. Steve is in lockdown. He's going a little bit stir crazy.
I'm
Aren't
not
you,
going
Steve?
anywhere. Yep. I sure am. I'm sure everyone else in probably most of Australia probably feels the same way. But I don't know. What are we up to? Week 8 or something? And it's not going to end.
Isn't it over at the end of this month? End of August?
No,
It's
not. I just read a headline where the headline was nobody's complying with the lockdown rules, and the number went to 600 and something, and the previous highs was 480 something.
Wow. That's getting up. That's a problem, isn't it? It just escalates so quickly. I mean, here in Bahrain...
people are getting tired.
Yeah, here in Bahrain, the numbers went up a lot when we weren't here. The numbers went, I know we always start the podcast. The last few weeks we've always been starting with COVID talk. It's very weird, but I guess you have to because I guess what I get annoyed about the fact that it hasn't gone away, and it feels like governments are trying to tell you that it has gone away and everything's okay. I just get that feeling. And like I said, when I traveled last week back to Bahrain, even in the UK, like the airports are dead, no one's traveling. There's still events happening. I don't know what's going on in the world. I mean, just cancel all these events. They're irrelevant. I'm sorry, but Olympics, expos, what we're doing, everything, it's irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. It's not important. There's more important things to do to spend money on than spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on a country marketing event. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
Get people vaccinated.
Yeah, get people vaccinated instead. Exactly. What was I saying? Oh, so one thing here, though, Steve, which I didn't realize, I was going to say about the numbers, how they escalate so quickly. When we were in UK, when we were in London, Bahrain actually was really bad. The numbers have gone way back down. But at the moment, you cannot go into anywhere without showing your vaccinated passport on your phone, on your app, on your Be Aware app, which is the Bahrain app, which all residents have. I'm a resident of Bahrain. So literally, I didn't even realize. So everywhere you go, you have to show your your vaccinated passport.
Yeah, and I don't really understand what's going to happen here. I'm assuming there's going to be a bit of a backlash because people feel like it's an infringement of their civil liberties and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty inevitable that regardless of your views, we're all going to be coaxed into this sort of thing of you need a vaccine to do something. And I'll say it, I personally see the logic in it and I'm completely fine with it, but I actually know that there are people out there that don't agree with that. But I think they're going to be coerced into it.
Look, I always say this and I'll say it again. Bahrain has done a really good job with this app. It works really well. And I don't understand why Australia doesn't have something that works as well. I don't know about other countries. No, seriously, I don't know about other countries. But it works so well. Your passport's there. It's got a big shield. It's a certain color. You show it. When you do your test, you book your test in. Like when we arrived, we had to book our test at the airport. You book it on the app. You pay on the app. It's easy. Then in 10 days after we land, we have to do another test, a PCR test, which is on Friday. This Friday we have to do it. You book it on the app. Then a message comes through and says, you've got your booking. And then it gives you the directions in the message. It's just so easy. You know what I mean? If you make it easy for people... I'm not going to bang on about it, but it's not the technology, the way the governments use the technology and the communications and the various websites that you get your information from and everything. It's not a seamless thing. It's not very well kind of coordinated. Yeah. So. Let's start with the usual PorscheCooled owner stories. PorscheCooled owner stories this week. I had Matt, and Matt was coming in from Victoria. Did you listen to it, Steve? Did you get a chance?
I did.
Matt's got I think his 996 is pretty special. It was a car that was delivered to Porsche Melbourne, I think he said. It was a dealer car. It was obviously at the time spec'd to be a little bit like a GT3 because it has the aero kit. It has the
Yeah,
X51.
showing off all the options that you could potentially kind of get for a 996.
Yeah, because this was 1999, right? It was a 1990. He's got a 1999 996 Carrera 2. For people who haven't listened to it, you should listen to it if you haven't already. The owner stories this week. It's manual. It's got the X51 option. It's in Arena Red. I don't know how many Arena Red 996s there are, but I don't think there's very many. And Arena Red is
Remind me of Jethro Bothington's. Remember, that's on the same colour as his.
Oh, is it?
And has an error kit on it as well. Yep.
Ah. But that was the 993 Hero colour, right? The 993 Turbo Hero colour, right?
Turbo Hero, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a nice looking car. I mean, Matt just changed the wheels over. When I was talking to him, his car was in Melbourne. He's outside of Melbourne. And his car was in Melbourne, and he was getting it detailed. He sent me a picture before he posted it on his Instagram. And, I thought he did it himself, but it looked... He had it, paint corrected and detailed, and it looked the paint on that car looks pretty amazing. Like, it looks in really, really good condition if you look at his Instagram.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, this is his first 911. I mean, he has the Renault, what is it? RS 250 Cup, Renault Sport 250 Cup, and a RS, I didn't write this down, 197, I think it was, 197 Renault. What do you think of Renaults? Do you like them? Those Renault Sports?
I don't know much about them, to be honest. And I don't really know. My cousin with the M3, who I reference a bit, he had which one did he have? I think he had a Megane Trophy, which I don't think I actually ever saw it. I never had a go in it or never rode in it, kind of thing. But I know he loved it to bits. I don't know. I really actually don't know much about Renaults at all, apart from... I guess they're a lot more common in the UK, and then when you read like Evo magazine and those types of journalists always used to rave about them. They always sort of said in terms of handling and being a sort of really kind of cool performance car that they were brilliant.
Yeah, they're a good driver's car, aren't they? I was the same. Yeah. I don't know much about them. I remember in 2011... I remember every time I went to Centennial Park in Sydney, I was going there to run. I don't know why I was going there to run. It was when I first started running. And I remember every morning I'd go there, there'd be the same guy parked in the same spot, because I'd always park in the same spot, and he would always be parked in around the same spot. And it was the new one at the time, the Megane. And I always thought it looked really cool when he had the door open. You could see the seats. It had nice seats in there, and it was kind of appealing. I mean, Matt really enjoys them. He says they're great on the roads where he lives. I think he's doing the 197, he's doing up to more of a track-focused sort of car. And he mentioned a company in the UK, which I can't remember, and it's probably going back to your point, actually. You said how they're popular in the UK. There's a place that does all the performance parts for the Renaults in the UK, just to make it that little bit more special.
I can't remember which one. Was it the Clio? The Clio Trophy was like one of the originals, and I know one of the journos in the UK sort of bangs on about it all the time. But then they had those kind of crazy ones where they shoved a V6 in the middle of it, so it was effectively a mid-engine car. They're supposed to be kind of pretty bonkers. So they're not afraid to kind of do something different and a little bit sort of special, which makes it very appealing for like a car person.
And is it? Yeah, I mean, exactly. And is it a little bit more special? And I think Matt mentioned it, how they're not making these anymore. How that sort of Renault Sport doesn't exist because it's been replaced by Alpine, right? Alpine. Yeah. So these cars will become, and they're still pretty cheap. If you look online, they're high kilometers though. If you look online for say the RS 250 Cup, they're not that expensive. I mean, are they a good alternative for someone that wants like a second car to their 911, a second sort of driver's car?
Could be. I've never, I don't know, and I've got no foundation for this, but I always just assumed that generally French cars, in terms of their kind of quality controls, not particularly good. So I'm not sure if that would bug me.
Citroens and Renaults are not known for their quality inside, are they? The cheap plastics and stuff, and Peugeots, yeah. And I had that Peugeot. My Peugeot wasn't great. That 206 or whatever I had.
We had somebody, an agency that I worked for, we worked on the Peugeot account for a very short amount of time, and one of the suits bought a 206, and I heard that it literally went up in smoke one day. as in the engine bay caught fire and the whole thing burnt to the ground.
My 206 experience, my Peugeot 206 experience, I don't know whether I've spoken about it before, and I don't know if you remember. You probably don't remember this because it was probably too early in our friendship.
I remember you had it.
And I bought it, it literally just came out. I saw it, I think in a newspaper, believe it or not, but it literally just came out, and this must have been, was it 99? I think it was a 99 model or a 2000 model.
Yep.
First of the new 206s, it came out. I literally secured the first one. And then after that, they were quite hard to come by. But I had so many issues with it. I think I owned that car and I bought it new, and I think I owned it for 4 months, maybe 6 months. And then it just got so bad. The air conditioning made this like noise, and then there was other quality issues. And one day we were just driving in Artarmon in Sydney, and we were driving past Audi, and I said to Tasha, I said, let's go and look at the A3. So we drove into Audi, and then they had that A3 in there, and literally I bought it on the spot. I didn't even like a haggle or anything. I said, yeah, okay, if you can change the seats, I'll take it. And it was just like done.
Get me out of this French thing.
How much can you get me? How much will you give me for the Peugeot? And they gave me a really good price. I didn't lose that much money because people wanted them because they couldn't get deliveries of them at the time. So I only lost... I think at the time I lost like $3,000. I think I paid $27,000 for that car. It was expensive. And I think I got out of it at like 23.5 or 22 or maybe 22. Maybe I lost $5,000. But it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at the time.
It does, slight tangent, but it does make you realize that you kind of start to take it for granted when you drive a Porsche for a while because the quality control is actually quite good, right?
Yes.
You just made me think of somebody you know too, Dennis, who had that Mini Cooper. Yeah. And he was tearing his hair out at the end of that experience, and he literally got to the same point, which was like, this thing is costing me so much money in repairs. I just want you to buy the car off me, and then I'm never going to see you and talk to you ever again. Like went back to BMW Sydney and did that. And then I know like of somebody else that did that with a Range, I think it was a Range Rover. And you read things where people in, I think it was F-Type Jags.
Yes.
So just by comparison with us, like, you know, we're banging on about how much we love kind of Porsche and stuff. But then like the other end of this spectrum, like your potential car ownership experience is where you get so shitty that you just kind of go, just pay me whatever you want to pay me, and I just don't want to ever see this thing ever again.
Yeah. Like I'd gone back to that Peugeot service center, and the guy at the time who was helping me in Artarmon, when it was in Artarmon, he was so helpful. Like this is going back quite a few years now. But they just couldn't fix the issues, the air conditioning issue, and there was another issue. They just couldn't fix it. He said, I don't know. Basically, it was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was enough for me to go, you know, sorry. F this. I'm not keeping this car anymore. I said to Tasha, I remember saying to Tasha, I went back and I said, this car's going. I'm not keeping it. She said, but you just bought it. I said, I'm not keeping it. I'm not keeping it. And then I just had to, you know, and it was just driving past Audi in Artarmon. It needs to be there on the big old Honda building. And it was like, yeah, okay, done.
It's smart moving with the benefit of hindsight. Because like, just imagine the amount of frustration, like Dennis's experience. I think he went back to BMW Sydney like 3 different times, and each time like it first cost like, you know, I'm just making it up, but it's roughly like, oh, it'll be $3,000, sir, to kind of change this. And then 3 months later, oh, it'll be another $6,000, sir, to change this. And then it was like, oh, it's another $14,000, and his car's worth like 30.
Yeah, I know. But the Audi was just like a different world. I remember it. I remember first picking it up. It was like, it was just a different world. Everything was just so much better. And sure, it was a lot more money. It was twice the price, but everything was just so much better. Sure. But, you know, you're saying about cars, and I'm at that frustration point at the moment. It's not a frustration point because it's just a rental. But as you know, I've got... So to everyone who's listening who are going to fall over when I say this, I'm driving an MG, and not like Ajmal at Flat Cap Drivers MG. I'm driving a new MG, you know, the ones that are made in China. And you know I have nothing against Chinese-made products or Chinese in general, but it's a Chinese-made product. This car, how would I explain the MG? This is the MG SUV. I can't remember the designate, what the model is.
Can I take a guess? It's a complete piece of steaming shit?
It's not... Look, I understand if you're... It depends what you're coming from. It depends what you're coming from. Sure. And I think, you know, we're at a certain level that it's hard for me to appreciate it.
Yep.
And I know I have spoken to people in Bahrain who said they were going to buy one, and obviously people do appreciate it. And Natasha's father was going to buy one because someone told him it was good and it was a really cheap, good price. It's a good price for a reason, and I don't think they're that cheap. It drives okay. It just doesn't have... The engine's loud. The first one we had no power. I'd literally put my foot... We had a silver one for a day. And literally I sent it back because it had no air conditioning. But when we had it for that day, it also had no power. It had 50,000 kilometers. The one we got downstairs has got 25,000 kilometers. And it's in my favorite color, one downstairs in red as well, just to make things even better. Yeah. But this one's got leather and this one's more well-optioned. It's got alloys, so it looks a bit better if that makes any difference. But the first one, Steve, literally I put my foot down at the main intersection here, and people drive very fast here, right? I reckon there was a 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 lag, and then I put my foot flat to the floor, and then it would try to move. It was literally that much lag in the power. And it was like, that first day I had to drive around a bit. It was just driving me crazy. So then the second one came the next day. They brought the second one around to the flat here. And
Is it better?
It's better. It's obviously more well appointed. It's got the first one didn't have parking sensors or rear vision camera, and it's got a really bad blind spot because of the shape of the back of that car. It's got a really terrible blind spot on that back pillar. You cannot see. So this one has the rear vision camera, which is really good quality. I have to admit, it's a very good quality. But for me, if I was looking at a price point, I would skip the MG. I would skip the MG because honestly, even though that Merc, the ML, was in 2012 or whatever model it was, I can't even remember, the Merc that's gone. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that older car, even with the old navigation and whatever and the old... I'd rather have that because, I don't know,
Just use your phone.
It's just got little things, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just got the little things. It just feels, it's just everything about it, Steve. It just feels better. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, your SUV, Cindy's Macan is fine. Macans are great, and you can see why Macans do so well. And I know certain people have a budget, and I'm not trying to be a snob here. Certain people have a budget, and you've got to fit it into that budget. And maybe it's a good car for those little runaround cars, but I think power delivery is terrible. I don't know what the engine of this MG is. I know it comes in a 1.3 and a 1, or 1.5 and a 1 litre. Apparently the 1 litre...
That could be your problem.
Yeah, but apparently the 1 litre, Steve, is better than the 1.5. I have a funny feeling...
Has it got like a turbocharger and a supercharger or something?
It must.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is because there's nothing on the back to say what it is. It just has... This one has MG, and at the back it has Morris, whatever, written on the back as well in big letters. Like, it's a bit crazy. I'll take a photo of it and put it on my Instagram.
It's such a shame what they've done to that brand.
Yeah, I don't understand.
When you think about how revered like that little octagonal MG logo kind of was, and everybody used to kind of, Americans particularly, was it like post-war?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the classic kind of thing, sports car. And now what? Like, it's these sort of Chinese-made SUVs.
Yeah.
It's just pitiful. So sad.
It is. I remember a friend of mine, and this is going back a long time, Debbie, who married a friend of mine, Kemsley, who's Troy's brother, as you know. And Debbie had an MG. She had a white one. And I can't remember the little ones, the really original old ones. And I remember going for a drive in that car with her, and it was such a fun car. It used to break down like all the time, but it was such a fun car to be in. And that's my memory of MG, right? Open top, little sports car, raw. And then you go in this and it's like, why didn't they just try to do something special? They just made it into this mainstream, and then the sedan and everything. Anyway, that's what I'm driving. We become Porsche snobs, don't we? I hate to say it. We become German car snobs a little bit. We get used to quality. You get used to a certain lifestyle, as they say. You get used to a certain quality, Steve, and you can't really change. You agree?
That's scary. That's very scary.
That's why we have to spend so much money.
Yeah, I think I've said as much before, which was basically, particularly like the GT3 spoiled me so badly that I'd just get into any other car and it just doesn't feel particularly kind of interesting or exciting or whatever. I just can't.
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah, it is bad. It is bad. But you told me that once I get into a Porsche, I won't look at anything else. And I think I have to say it's kind of true. Although I do appreciate the cars like, the Renault Sports and the BMs. I was listening to a really good podcast. I just want to go back to owner stories, actually. So don't just to tell the listeners, make sure you listen to Matt's story. He's got a good story. He's a really nice guy. I really enjoyed chatting with him. Like I said, he's in Victoria. Any of you Victorians there, reach out to him. On Instagram, he's at MD. Actually, it's not MD996. If you search MD996, I think it's at MD99647. MD99647. So go and have a look at his Instagram. Have a look at his 996. I think he's got a special one. I think if he holds on to that one, it's going to be quite a rare one. Especially it's got that X51 power option, Steve, which makes a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, but the MG, I wish it had a bit more power, Steve, because driving in Bahrain, you need more power. You really do need it to get away. I've had to get myself back in the frame of mind of driving as well. And people not indicating, and how people, not that people are rude in Bahrain how they drive, but it's a different way of driving here in the Middle East. So I just have to get back into the frame of mind, because I haven't driven for 6 months or 5 months or whatever it is. So I have to get back in the frame of mind of driving again. But I have to say, I like having the flexibility of being able to drive. It's nice. Even though it's not a Porsche, I do like just driving. It's kind of like, make sure, realize that you can still drive and you haven't lost the skills. You know what I mean? It's been so long.
Look, actually, sorry, slight segue into something different too. I've been having chats with cousin Marco with his 996 Turbo. And because we're in lockdown in Sydney, like we're obviously nobody's kind of going anywhere. Yes, like you're allowed within 5 kilometers of your home and all that sort of stuff to kind of do the essentials. So inevitably, like, I take the GT3, I start it up and then kind of go around the block. I go around in circles, basically just to kind of keep the battery going, keep the fluids running.
Do you fang it?
Like
Do you
once
fang
a
it,
week.
as they say?
No. Well, so this is the problem, right? And Marco kind of sent me a thing saying something similar the other day, which is like, man, doing laps in your car is so frustrating. It is such a frustrating experience. Like, you can't do anything. It's just like, it really isn't like much of an experience at all, which sounds really, really weird. But I don't know. I wonder what are people kind of doing to kind of get their car jollies.
Good point, actually.
It's very difficult. Like, unless you're kind of living, on the old Pacific Highway or something like that, I don't know. You just can't do anything. It's a very strange sort of thing to kind of, I think this is sort of what Marco was saying, like you kind of get in your car and you obviously love the beats, you're sort of hankering to kind of, get it warmed up and just rev it out and stuff. But it's almost like you can kind of get to like 3/10 of where you want to go.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, no, it's
you're just
frustrating.
Sort of feeling very held back.
Yeah, because you can't do anything. And how long?
That's what problems.
Yeah, you can't go any long drives. It's not enough, is it? It really isn't enough. Just don't drive it at all.
No,
just don't drive it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to get onto your car in a second, but let me just do actually there's Patreon. I just want to do the Patreon shout out. We need some more support on Patreon. Anyone that wants to come and join PorscheCooled, if they go to Patreon, which is patreon.com/PorscheCooled, or you search PorscheCooled on Patreon, you will find us. You can become a member of PorscheCooled from $2 to $10 per month, not per week, per month. Very cheap, and it just helps us keep talking, and it helps support the podcast. I just want to do a shout out because last week I did a shout out for Jim, who became a member of Patreon, and me in my stupidity didn't realize who Jim was, and I apologize, Jim. Jim sent me a message. I should have known, actually. I don't know what was wrong with me. Jim is a Porsche owner who I've been chatting to on Instagram. He owns a 68 912. It's a really beautiful example. If you want to look at Jim's car, you can go to his Instagram. It's at left coast 912, at left coast 912 on Insta. Beautiful color. I'm not going to give the color away, but it's one of my favorite colors in the 912. So go over to Jim's Insta and give him a follow because he's a real Porsche guy.
Yeah, cool.
What else, Steve? Apple reviews. We'll just get over these things, and I just want to get into the main crux of the crux. How come I'm saying that? My friend used to say that passed away. Apple reviews and ratings. No new Apple reviews and ratings. But as I always say, you guys, because you have given us so many reviews, because we have like 123 or 124 or 120, I don't know, something like that in the 120s of the reviews on Apple Reviews, it's pushed us right up the charts. We really are, every time a new episode comes out, Steve, it just jumps up there. I mean, the other day we were 36, I think I said, or 35 in the US. I think we were 10 or 9 in Australia, which was high for Australia. Normally we're not that high in Australia, even though we have a lot of Australian fans, we're not that high. So if you guys have some spare time on the weekend, just go to Apple Ratings and Reviews. Give us a star rating. If you have more time, just leave us a review. It really does help us get seen. Steve, what do you think? Let's get on to, I want to talk about the Gunther Werks, actually. The 993 Speedster remastered by Gunther Werks. And I know it's been all through Instagram and all through the press because it was just shown at Quail.
I think it was Quail. Like, it's Monterey Car Week, so...
Oh, Monterey. Yeah, Monterey.
Like everything.
Yeah,
Quail's part of that, and so is Pebble Beach Concours, isn't it? I don't know. They're all part of that. Same.
Yeah, Monterey Car Week. You're correct. That's what it is. Now, I think this is a really important one for Gunther Werks, and I think it was rumored they were going to do it. I don't think it was a surprise. I think I did read about... They teased about it.
They teased for a while.
Yeah, so this Speedster that they've done, and they call it the 993 Speedster remastered by Gunther Werks, and you got to put it into context. The 993 generation 911 Speedsters, Porsche just made 2. One was for the original 911 designer, Bootsy, is that how you call it? Bootsy Porsche?
Bootsy Porsche.
And the other was commissioned by a very famous comedian, Jerry Seinfeld. So there's only 2 that were ever produced. And I think that's really important that they've picked something that is so rare. And I want to get your thoughts on this, on a different angle on this from what most people are looking at it. And they've done this Speedster. And they've obviously done a good job with the Speedster. They're making 25 of them. There's no price yet. They haven't announced a price. It's obviously going to be in excess of 525,000 or 500,000 US because that's what the other one is, the coupe. It's naturally aspirated. I think it was 400 odd horsepower. I think it's pretty light. I think it's only like 2,500 pounds or 1,200 kilos, something like that.
What's that in kilos?
Yeah, it's very light. Obviously, it's carbon. It's very stiff. Apparently,
which is what they're known for because can't remember the name of their parent company, but they're kind of carbon specialists. So.
Yeah, so they've made it very stiff. They've done something with the humps at the back and the back seat to give it more rigidity, I read. They've integrated, they've got that new carbon fiber steering wheel. It's got a carbon fiber dash. I mean, the seats look pretty cool. The seats remind me a little bit of a McLaren seat, though. I'm not sure. I like the seats, but they look like that McLaren seat to me. Or they look a little bit reminiscent of Ferrari Daytona seats, is it? Or is it McLaren seat? It reminded me of something as soon as I saw it. Obviously, it's a 4-litre engine, Roth Sport, which is in Oregon. The G50 gearbox, which they've tweaked, I think, from memory. I thought it was interesting, though, Steve, a couple of things, and I want to ask your opinion on this in a second. And I'm going to read what they had up. I took this off the website because I thought this bit was quite interesting. A lower rake windscreen utilizes Porsche 964 Speedster glass, stabilized with a Gunther Werks developed carbon fiber frame cowl with steel reinforcements. Side windows are pulled from the 964 Speedster inventory, mated to frameless doors. Lightweight single skin bonnet is made more than 25% lighter from the Gunther Werks coupe. Current double-sided coupe hood, so it's single-sided. The rear of the Speedster incorporates a revised ducktail spoiler, ram air scoop, 3D printed exhaust tips. Other features includes Speedster Pacific billet aluminium side mirrors and streamlined aluminium lightweight door handles that replace the factory steel units. So it's aluminium, it's carbon fiber. Now, as they said, they pulled it from the 964 Speedster inventory. There's only 2 964 there's only 2 993 Speedsters. Ah, right.
964, there were more.
So they took it from the 964. So what do you think? Firstly, what do you think of this reimagined car, or whatever they call it? It's not remastered. They call it remastered. Singer call it reimagined. What do you think of it in the fact that they've done this car, which was only a car that existed in 2? There was only 2 of them. What do you think of that first? And what do you think of how it looks?
Yeah, well, I think it's only in name in terms of the kind of Speedster thing. Like Speedster is sort of like a, how do I put it? Like kind of like Porsche descriptor for like a convertible that's a little bit racier because it's kind of got like the shortened windscreen and stuff like that. I'm assuming, even though you've just sort of said they're taking like glass from a 964 Speedster, etc. Like, I think it's just sort of more like to kind of describe the fact that it's an open top, version of the coupe, the 25 coupes that they kind of did, and now they're just doing 25 open top versions of it. It's pretty cool. It's different, right? Like, they, for whatever reason, they often get kind of compared to Singer, but it's quite a different sort of car. Like, I guess maybe it's the price point that's similar, and the ethos of like, kind of going through every single little kind of minute detail and then just sort of working on it. But they're nowhere near as kind of elegant. Like, it's far racier and far more like a sort of modern day take on something rather than being super retro.
Yeah, I really like this Speedster. I think they've done a really good job on it, right? I like it a lot. I actually don't even mind the color combination that they've shown it in. I think the color combination is quite good. Obviously the colors you can choose, like Singer, would be endless. I'm not a big fan of the color of the interior, but at least you can see the deep.
Mandarin.
You can see the green and the mustard sort of color. You can see the details.
Yeah.
You can see the details, right? I think I heard someone say, maybe it was Matt Farrer or someone like that, or Spike, or someone was saying that they didn't think it was, Gunther doesn't feel as custom as Singer. In some ways, when I look at this,
Oh, really?
yeah, I think they say that Singer is a bit more custom, more, more
Wonder
more
what's meant
built
by that?
parts, I think, instead of using other parts and just making them look special. I think I heard someone say that. Now, I don't know how true it is, right? In some ways, I actually like Gunther Werks better. And this isn't just a new thing. I remember seeing Gunther Werks and looking at these, 3-4 years ago and thinking there was something about them that I don't mind. And obviously they look at Singer and they sort of, they're still inspired by Singer. You can still see it, right? Singer was around first. But I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I do actually like it. The seats are a little bit too McLaren-ish for me. I don't know about those seats to me. They're okay. Maybe they're in another color. You'd have to feel them. But I do like what they put into it. I do like the side view of this car. Like, that back glass looks really quite amazing. Or the black back hump, look quite amazing. And when you see the side view. And that windscreen is just, it's just such a great look. It really is.
It's funny because I think Smoking Tire, like Matt Farah, tends to always get his hands on a car, and he does his one take videos. So I've sort of seen all of those, and I think I saw another thing where they interviewed the owner of Gunther Werks and stuff like that. So it gets a lot of press. I think it's just different because it's obviously like a lot racier than a Singer.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's as. It sort of seems more like it's a track-oriented car than Singers are. But I don't know. I'm going to take a wild guess that if you're in the market and you can afford to buy a Singer and you can get on the list, and you could probably put a Gunther next to it. And I don't think you'd necessarily be choosing between the two. And I reckon they're probably kind of different enough, if you know what I mean.
I think they are.
The sort of vibe.
Yeah,
of it.
I think you're right. I think that if you're someone with lots of money where it doesn't matter, I think to have a Singer and to have a Gunther Werks would actually be quite cool. You know what I mean? I don't think.
I think that.
But what about the engine?
Follow on from what
about the engine?
Yeah, it's special as.
Which is a better engine? Which is a better engine, though, the Singer or the Gunther, you think? Gunther is Rothsport Motorsports or whatever. Singer is Williams?
Weren't the original Singers Rothsports as well?
Oh, were they?
The very, very, at the very, very beginning, but they were they 3.6s or 3.8s? I can't remember. I think they might have been 3.8s. And then it wasn't until they kind of evolved to a 4. Anyway, I'm sure they're equally kind of as good as each other, sort of thing. But when you watch the video of Matt Farah driving through Angela's Crest or whatever it is, that sounds amazing again. Like just, like they're different sort of engines because they don't rev as high as like, a 9,000 RPM GT3, like a modern day GT3, but it's still kind of got that amazing sort of howl to it. And I was always partial to like the look of a 993, and it's obviously kind of like a even more extreme sort of fat version of. I like how there are some styling elements where I can't remember the guy's last name, but the founder, Peter somebody or other, he was sort of saying, if you look at the front from dead on, they took a lot of inspiration out of a Carrera GT, and I never picked it, and then I looked at it again. It's like, right. There really is. So like there is a lot of thought and craft in it. It's just not as obvious as, you know, like Singers are obviously a little bit more kind of retro cool and probably have become what like people think is the best of, you know, like lots of generations of 911s kind of just merged into the one car. Whereas a 993 is sort of arguably just sort of like a 993 kind of taken to an extreme.
Yeah. And I guess the state of the market shows that these two companies can exist. You know, people are buying them. They got orders that are filling their books, which they can't deliver quickly enough. You know what I mean? And I think it's quite clever. You know, one is based on the 964, one's based on the 993. So, you know, Gunther was quite clever in doing that just to differentiate because there is a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So, and I think, you know, I guess, I don't know, if you love a 964, do you buy the Singer, or is it not about that anymore? It's just about you like the Singer or you like the Gunther Werks. You know what I mean? What makes you? What is the decision maker here in these cars? Is it the attraction to the 993, the 964, or is it just the attraction to Singer as a brand? And obviously, Singer still has that more, you know, no offense to Gunther Werks, but it kind of Singer does have the more sort of elite status, doesn't it? A little bit.
I don't know. Maybe not, because the Gunther's rarer. Like if there's only 25 of the coupes and then there's going to be 25 of these Speedsters, you're less likely to kind of see another one. But I just, Matt Farah's latest video where he sort of said they've tweaked. I remember the first two times he drove the other coupe, he sort of said like it's pretty kind of twitchy on the road because it's got like, it's a 285 section front tires, which is like crazy wide. So I think he sort of said it tram lines and sort of follows the camber of the road kind of pretty aggressively. Not for the faint-hearted, but he sort of said like the latest mods, they kind of changed the suspension out, I think, to, was it JRZ coilovers and stuff like that. Sounds pretty good. Sounds like very aggressive, but it does sound like it's an amazing thing to drive.
No, I remember when Matt Farah had it. Remember he had the car, and then there was a period of time, then he got the car back again because he thought it was a bit twitchy or something was not right with it, and he told them, and apparently they changed a few things after he'd driven it. And another journalist, I think Johnny Lieberman as well, right? Johnny Lieberman drove it as well. And I think they took the feedback. I think Johnny Lieberman's friends with the guy, right?
Spike had it too.
Yeah. And I think from memory, Johnny Lieberman's friends with the owner of the company, I think, or is it Matt Farah? One of the two. But this just takes me on to the point. I just want to like just sort of go on a tangent here. Have you listened to Smoking Tires podcast with Steve Dinan or Dinan?
Dinan.
Yeah, Dinan.
Yep.
Have you listened to that?
I haven't. No,
okay, listen to it, and we should talk about it next week. And I think the listeners should listen to it as well. Even if you hate Matt Farah, listen to it. The guy is really knowledgeable. He says a lot of interesting things about different brands of coilover suspension, right? He has a very interesting take on how he explains it very clearly how he adjusts suspension. So his cars, he's always known for he's an engine builder, right? And he's done it for BMW racing and all these things and Audi.
Yeah.
No, he has.
He's a not just an engine builder. I think he's sort of.
But he also did
really highly regarded for Beamers, like in terms of suspension. Everything,
yeah, everything. Yeah, no.
Engine.
But he calls himself an engine builder. But he's also known. He prides himself in his suspension. The fact that cars can go over bumps and you don't feel it. Take it on the worst road, and his cars will always. And he gives the tips on how he does this. And he talks about Formula One, and he talks about how to get the best out of the suspension and how, people lowering cars and making cars as stiff as possible is not the way to do it. And all these things, and how suspension coilovers are all pretty much the same. It doesn't really matter on the brand. You know what I mean? It's a really interesting episode. It's one of those episodes that I think everyone should listen to. It's really, really good.
Yeah, right.
And the guy is so knowledgeable. And I don't really know much about him. I really don't know much about him. I haven't really heard that much about him. And I know you probably have, Steve, with BM and stuff. And he's doing BMW M8s. I think he rocked up there in an M8 competition that he gets, 1,000 horsepower out of or something ridiculous like that. And he's done M2s, with 700 horsepower or something. 700 horsepower in an M2. Yep. But it's his talk about suspension, and it's his talk about... It's very, very interesting, and I think everyone should listen to it. So it's on Smoking Tire. It's Steve Dinan. Steve Dinan. Yep. So Gunther Werks. You sell your crypto. You've got $700,000. Will you buy one? Will you buy one?
But yes,
yes.
If I was a rich man, yeah, I'd quite like the look of it. Whether it's a coupe or a speedster, I don't care. I guess the speedster, I'm assuming without a roof, like the experience is even more intense, so it'd be pretty cool.
It makes it special though, doesn't it? I think the Speedster is really special. It really is special in the Gunther. I think that's obviously going to sell out of the 25. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of more people who are going to be disappointed, obviously.
Yeah. They're pretty good in their marketing. Like you get to see a lot of it, particularly the last week or so with kind of Monterey. Like I guess there's been quite a few different cars launched like that, Lamborghini Countach and all of that sort of stuff, but they kind of seem to get their fair share of press. So,
the Countach,
they're doing
we don't really talk about Lamborghini, but the Countach, I don't understand all the hate that it's getting. I know Matt Farah's been pounding hate onto it. Money grab, he's calling
and
it.
Johnny Lieberman as well.
I'm forgetting about the history and I'm forgetting about all that side of it. When I look at it, I don't think it's a bad looking. I know it's not. It's based on something else and whatever. But when I look at it as a car,
it's an
when I look at it as a car, there's I think the back is really well done. I think the back just harks back to those 70s Countaches. You know what I mean? And it's obviously based on the earlier Countach. It's not based on the 80s. It's based on the 70s ones, the slimmer ones. But I actually think they've done not a bad job. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. They'll sell out of them. It's not like they can't sell them. I don't hate it. I don't hate the look of it.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence. I don't mind it, kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't read enough about what everybody's kind of saying, but I think everybody's just going, it's a bit cynical because it's a bit of a, like in watches kind of thing, like you bring out a slight variation in the look of it and then all of a sudden you charge a massive premium. You sort of say that it's made in small numbers and, everybody kind of wants one sort of thing, whereas true kind of specials like a 4-litre, 997 RS has mechanical oily bits that make it special, not just the look of it and not just the rarity kind of thing. True. But,
we talk a lot about on the podcast, we talk about values, Steve. We talk about on owner stories, I talk to a lot of people about how they inspect their car, if they got PPIs done, if they don't get PPIs done. I mean, we're a fan of the PPI. Mm-hmm. I watched a video on YouTube and I know you haven't watched it. And I watched this video primarily because I wanted to know more about 914s. I don't know much about them. You know what I mean? And I remember listening to Jerry Seinfeld on Spike, and he's got the 2-litre and he's got the 6-cylinder one. And he thought that the 2-litre was the better one to buy. To him, the 2-litre drives better. It's more fun. It's more of an experience. It's more engaging. Even though most people say get the 6-cylinder 914, even though it's very expensive now, it's like $100,000 US for a 6-cylinder one, I think, close to $100,000 US.
Yeah.
Right. And I was spurred on by this because I saw it come up in my email. They had a blue 914 at Beverly Hills Car Club, and I think it was $16,000 US dollars. And it looked pretty clean, right? But I don't know what 914s are all about. I mean, obviously you have to get a special, a proper inspection done if you're buying a car like that, especially 914s because they rust. They're like, 356s. There's a lot of rust in them. There can be a lot of rust in them. So then I did a search on YouTube. I came up with this video, and I know you haven't watched it. And I just want to tell the listeners, it's Auto Atlanta. I think if you just do a search for Auto Atlanta, it will come up. And there's this guy called George Hussey, who they call Dr. 914. And I know some people probably already have heard of this dude. And he takes a tour of around a 914 that they had for sale. They've now sold this car. and he highlights all the, the parts. He highlights things that have been changed, things that should be changed back on this car. If he said to make it more original, he should change this back. I mean, he goes into it in so much depth. It's a long video. I think it's like 20, 30-minute video. It's a long video. But it's interesting, and I think if you're into buying a classic Porsche or you're into classic cars, I think he's a bit over the top. In my opinion, I think some things are a little bit over the top of what he talks about. But I think it's very interesting to look at. Like this one had a hood emblem, Steve. Someone had put a hood emblem. 914s never came with a hood emblem. Now, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. And it kind of distressed him that someone had drilled holes into the metal and put the hood emblem. He said, if you bought this car from us, I would suggest you take that hood emblem off and get rid of it.
Right.
And then he looks at the side, that had vinyl on the side, not just the Targa top, and you can see the paint coming through, so it's original paint. And then he goes in about the hoses, how some hoses have been changed and they should be changed back to the wrong hoses. So he gets really in depth with it. But I think it's a really interesting video, and I just wanted to just mention it. I've already sent it to you, but I just think the listeners should take a listen, have a watch of it as well. And like I said, it's Auto Atlanta. It's just search 914. It normally comes up, and his name's Dr. 914. His name is George Hussey. They have a few videos on there, actually, of 914s. It's quite interesting.
Sounds a bit Ferrari-esque.
A little bit.
Like when you watched TGE talk about like the provenance of like a proper Testarossa, the one that's sort of been certified by the factory, and all the things that you look out for, and how, like you shouldn't have this particular shield on the side and stuff like that. I guess I kind of get it. I
mean, I noticed that.
To a degree.
Yeah. 328 GTSs, now I see it. I can't unsee it. How many are for sale and they have the yellow shield on the side? And the 328 GTS never came with that shield. And Matt Farah pointed out when he bought his one and he took it off.
Yeah.
And I think 70%, 80% of the 328 GTSs for sale, the 80s GTS, have the shield on the side, and it never came with the shield. People just wanted to put it on, so they put it on. I would take it off as well. Yeah. And also, I saw it on something else the other day too. I think I saw it on a Dino. Someone had put it on a Dino as well, on a GT4 Dino, which was just like, I don't know.
But it's just sort of like, like side decals on your 997, that car never came with that as an option or whatever else. You kind of put it on because you sort of like it. It's your car. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it, really, isn't it?
Yes. So, and it's this fine line, isn't it? It's this fine line. Yeah. I'll send you a DM I got yesterday about someone that wants to come on the podcast. I'm not going to give it away here, but it's a similar thing. It's about these people building a kit. They're going to build this kit. And I'll send it to you because I think it's quite interesting. I don't want to talk about it because I will be actually having it on a podcast episode.
Sure.
But I will send it to you. And it's kind of that same thing, like I like those Beck Speedsters. I like the Beck Spiders, right? That company that does those recreations. And I know Hoovy, who you hate, that Hoovy's Garage has got the Beck Spider.
No, I don't know enough about it.
I quite like them. You can't get them registered in Australia. You can't get them registered at all. Right. But I still think they're quite an interesting car, even though they're not a Porsche. I know they're a replica, but I think they're quite an interesting car.
Yep.
Replicas.
No, I think the point was just going to be more that we've talked about it before again, but what's nice about sort of like Porsche culture is that there's a bit more latitude to mess with your car, like in the way that you were sort of describing that video and the guy that was kind of going through it. Like obviously it was probably more for like, proper kind of collector cars with a bit of a Ferrari kind of mindset. It's like, it's a little bit, is that a bit too kind of rigid and you don't...
Well, think about this, Steve. That's a 50-year-old car, right? Think about when our cars are 50-year-old and nothing's been taken off them. None of the mods. I mean, you've got more mods than me. Yep. Someone goes, okay, that knob is not original. I'd put the original knob back on. Those wheels, they should be silver. When it was brought out, they were silver. They were not this. They were not two-tone. They never made two-tone. It's 50 years. Time has passed. People don't even know what a 997 is anymore. A lot of people. People have died. People have born. No one really knows. That stripe on the side, that's not how it came from the factory. It'd be like you think about your car and you think about how they'd be picking it out. And it's like, well, that doesn't make it a bad example. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you've put a IPD plenum in there and it didn't have an IPD plenum. But does that make it a bad example? No, it doesn't.
No.
Oh, that exhaust. The exhaust wasn't black. What is that exhaust? This exhaust is painted black. This exhaust has a modification to it. That's not the original exhaust. That's an aftermarket exhaust. Is that a problem? It's a Fister exhaust on the 997. No, it's not.
So I guess I kind of get it if you're talking about like a McLaren F1 where there's, a couple of hundred of those sort of in the world sort of thing. So you want like them to be as they kind of came because there's so few of them. But when you're talking about cars made in the thousands, it's like, whatever. Does it matter?
Whatever. That's what I'm going to put in the comments to Dr. 914. I'm going to go, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Can you put whatever?
Hey, ... Talking about that, I want to go on to the thing you told me, you put in the notes and we were talking about before we started recording. I want to talk about the 996 headlights. Tell the listeners what you were saying to me earlier, because I think it's quite interesting. It's quite funny.
So like we share like just a kind of Apple Notes, and for these kind of weekly podcasts, we just like, if we sort of see something interesting, we just sort of jot it down. So like I often just kind of go, oh, that's an interesting thought. Anyway, so what I had jotted here was, I don't know what made me kind of think about it, but it's like if the 996 has become all the rage in sort of Porsche culture and circles, like people are kind of going, no, it doesn't look ugly. Like, we love it. And, there's such a following now. And even there seems to be like a bit of an uprising with Boxster 986s, which obviously share the exact same front end. So at one point in time, the most polarizing thing about that was the fried egg headlights. But now all of a sudden everybody's going, oh, actually, we don't hate them as much as like we kind of thought, and we kind of quite like it, blah, blah, blah. I was just kind of pondering this weird thought that I wonder, like, call it maybe not the next generation of 911, but call it the 994 or the 995 or something. Because these 996s have gotten such a following, it's like, I wonder if Porsche would ever go back and throw back to like a 996 style headlight. So they kind of go, hey, that was such a kind of cool thing from our kind of back catalogue that we're going to do a non-round or oval kind of headlight. And it's just like come full circle.
You know what?
It's weird,
You know what?
isn't it?
I laugh, but it's like it was a one-off, right? It was a one-off. It's rare.
Because there's such a
it's
backlash.
Rare. So the 996 now, even though everyone, like you said, hated it, the 996 has that unique point of difference, which is the headlights, which no other 911 has, right? So the fact that no 911 has, yes, it's becoming more and more collectible in 996. Look at the GT3 prices. Look at those prices first. Look at the Carrera prices. Like Matt in Victoria, who's on Owner Stories. I'm not going to say it in the podcast, but he shared the price of his 996. And, it's not super expensive, but the 996 prices are really getting up there now. You know what I mean? And you know what? It could happen, Steve. I laughed when you said that earlier. It could happen.
Yeah. I think I'm partly kind of like, it's almost like a bit of sort of a commentary on us as humans, because I think we're so easily influenced.
Yes.
Like, like 996 came out, we all kind of hated it because it was so unfamiliar. Like, a 911 had to kind of have like bug headlamps kind of thing. And now all of a sudden, like the tables have turned, and I'll admit it, I'm one of them. Like I remember hating the headlights, like really, really hating the headlights. Now, if you ask me to look at a 996 now, I kind of go, it looks all right. Like I don't like the soap bar kind of rounded sort of form of it as much. I dislike that more than I kind of dislike the kind of actual shape of the physical headlights. But because everybody else is now going, oh, no, 996s are really cool, like it's sort of swaying my view of it. And it's all subjective. Like this is just like whether you like the look of it or not. It's not like, whatever. But it's just really funny how things kind of go in and out and, But
you see past the headlights now. You don't even... I look at it. You look at a 996 now, and it's not like... You look at other things. You look at other details, other features, other design, points, other design things on the car. You look past the headlights. It's not polarizing. But let's bear in mind, like you said, with humans, we like everyone to like what we like. You know, do you like it? Do you like it?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
it's taken what 22 years. Like, let's be honest. This has happened in the past couple of years. So let's just say it's taken 20 years for people to accept the headlights. That's what I find crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, and you would have seen like the designer Pinky Lai, is that his name? And Grant Larson, I think he was his design chief. Like I've seen quite a few interviews because he was the head designer of it, and he kind of goes through it and describes it. And I guess I'm not in exactly the same sphere, but as an art director, I kind of understand the idea of what you do like aesthetically is you kind of try to measure popular culture. You try to kind of do design work that fits in with the time. You rationalize it, but like never are you kind of going, hey, your taste sucks and mine is really good, you know, like swallow this kind of thing. But it's just quite interesting that, you know, it had its reasons and all of that sort of stuff. It was very kind of adventurous, I guess, for its time and super polarizing. And now, I don't know, it's just kind of come back full circle. I'd be very interested, like if at any point in time, like even you know, like with the Porsche Unseen, that book and all the kind of show car concept things that they released, like you'll know at one point in time if a Porsche concept car comes out and it's got 996 throwback style headlights, that it's actually kind of come full circle, and all of a sudden, like it's now cool to have Friday headlamps.
Fashion, design, everything comes full circle. So I think you're right. Hey, Steve, do you have a recommendation this week? I was like struggling to get one. Actually, I hadn't really thought about it. Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I do. Do you want to talk about? Do we want to talk about?
Oh, we haven't actually. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about. So Steve got his knobs delivered.
That'll be my recommendation.
And let me just say that I haven't posted your knobs on any social media. Your new one. I was going to share it with the Discord community. I just want to do a quick. Do a quick spiel about that, Steve. PorscheCooled is on Discord. Discord is like a chat. We just call it a chat place to chat about all things Porsche. I think there's 24 or 25, maybe there's more now, members. I notice there's a lot of chatter going on there. I go in there every now and again. I know Steve hasn't. I know Marco's in there. Marco's been posting things. Stephen from Sydney, 66912, he's been going in there posting things. So people are joining. If you want to join Discord, join PorscheCooled on Discord. The invitation link is in the YouTube video of this podcast. I put it in the description. It's not in the podcast description. If you can't find it, just send me a DM on Instagram, PorscheCooled. Just send me a DM and I will send you a invite link. Steve, tell everyone about your knobs that got delivered.
Oh dear, how long have you got?
Short, quick.
So I ordered the things from Works, and there's a really nice dude, Chris. Like massive props to him. His craftsmanship in terms of he basically machines like rods and gear knobs out of mainly steel and titanium. I ordered one of them with the black kind of copolymer knob that you've heard us talk about over and over again. Admittedly, Chris was obviously super busy, but I finally got delivered. Took him a little while to kind of make the orders because I think he's really busy. At the last minute, I kind of threw in a wooden knob, received it, and they're brilliant. They're really, really good. So if you're looking for shifters for your Porsche, go check out Works.
Yeah.
You can customize pretty much most things. Like he's kind of got one there, which is for it's called like a flat bar shifter, which is like on a 996 and 997. When you take the knob off, like there's a sort of rectangular rod there, and then this thing slides over the top with, and then you kind of just secure it with a couple of screws. So the craftsmanship, etc., is every bit as good as I thought that it kind of might be after seeing a lot of his kind of Instagram posts and all of that. Do you want me to explain what I did?
Well, I just want to talk about the black one first. And
you go.
If any of the listeners want to know exactly what I will post, if you don't mind, Steve, I'll post your photo. I'll post your photo probably on Discord. I might post it on Instagram.
Yeah,
but if anyone wants to know the specs of that, you know what? I don't know if I can do that. Maybe I'll post a screenshot because I know what Steve ordered. I'll post the specs so you guys know exactly what Steve ordered. Steve ordered it a little bit shorter. He ordered it an inch shorter, which is about 25 millimeters shorter. Steve, you said that was a little bit too short, and it should be about 20 millimeters, which I think is 0.8 of an inch. 0.8 of an inch around about. Because Marco, I just want to tell the listeners and tell you very quickly, Marco is going to place an order. Marco, who's on Owner Story, Steve's cousin. I'm going to tap onto his order. He was telling me last night on Instagram, I think he was going to order it. He was going to order it even shorter than that, and I think it's going to be too short. So I don't know whether you've spoken to him. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. He mentioned that he was maybe going to go an inch and a half. All I did was I tried to kind of measure it all up and then kind of get it pretty much the same height as my standard sort of shifter. It's a little bit hard to kind of figure out because bits of the bottom collar, like I've got it in front of me so I can talk to you at least, this part of the bottom collar gets hidden by the kind of gaiter. So it's hard to kind of then measure the full height of the whole thing. And that's what I was trying to do. And then also because like if you look at this, there's a stainless bit of rod, right? And then you screw the kind of gear knob on top. The black copolymer thing then has like a little bit of black underneath it. So it makes this kind of silver bit look a bit stumpy when you shorten it because there's a little bit of black underneath it. So the proportions look a little bit kind of funny. But all in all, I got the height right because when you kind of literally lay this next to like a standard one or my one from Joel, like via Carbone, it's pretty much the right height. Like I think I'd probably kind of spec'd it maybe 5. If you wanted it to be exact, make it 20 mil shorter, not 25 mil shorter. Like
so it's about, and I put that in the converter, it's about 0.8 of an inch shorter. Yeah. So you wouldn't recommend getting the standard size that he makes?
In my opinion, it's too tall. Like it looks like it would sit too high up. And I was saying this to Marco. What
does he say about that though, when you told him that? Does he think he needs to adjust it?
I didn't say anything to him. No. Like, because he machines it from, like a solid bit of steel, like he'll do whatever you want. You can make it as long or tall as you want to. Like, I don't think he had an opinion of it because he's not like necessarily just like a Porsche kind of specialist. Like he'll make shifters for pretty much like most cars when you jump on his website. So I don't think he's necessarily like a one mark kind of sort of
but you would say get it 20 mil shorter?
I think so, yep. Like I'm happy with my 1 inch shorter. Like the difference between the extra 5 mil is neither here nor there. Like you're not going to. I'm going
to get the black polymer. I'm going to get the laser cut in white like yours. Look, I'll be honest. I like your wood one. I like the shape of it when you showed me. I don't know if the wood one from Lathe Works looks better than the one from Joel. In some ways, I like the Carbone one better. Just for me.
Yeah, and it's all subjective. Like, I love how we're talking about my knobs. Here's the. Sorry, I've got it in front of me so I can show Michael.
It's very nice. It's very, very nice. Beautiful quality.
One question, because I know you sort of had this question, and it was something I was thinking about too. Like, it's black plastic, right? Copolymer is code for, I'm assuming, plastic or
but it's
an
special
acrylic or something
plastic.
Like that. Yeah. But I guess I was sort of wondering whether or not it would look a little bit sort of cheap, like really opaque kind of like plastic-in feel to touch and to look at. No, it kind of almost looks a little bit like satin metal almost. It's kind of got that feel to it. So it's actually...
That's what I liked about it, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice nicer than it sounds. So like, don't be scared. Like, in the quality of the engraving and the markings and all of that sort of stuff looks really, really good.
It's about sorry, Steve. It's about $200, right? 200 US, something like that. I have to say, I was tempted by the stainless steel one, the stainless steel knob. There's something really nice about that. Yeah. I'm still in two minds though. I think I'll get the black copolymer, but the stainless steel is something, I don't know, I kind of like it, and I think it would work in my car.
Get both. Just get both.
I got no money. No,
and I'm actually kind of being dead serious, because if you kind of get both, like, all you got to do is unscrew, one and then screw the other one on if you're kind of really going down that path.
My wife will think I'm going crazy. She'll think it'd be bad influence, whatever. Steve.
Not just for everyone.
That's a good recommendation. So that's, what is the website? We've already said it 1,000 times before, latheworks.com.
Latheworks.com.
Check it out. But I will post that on the Discord with the details that Steve ordered. The only one I have this week is someone I've spoken about a little bit on the podcast, and I thought I should give it as a recommendation because he does do really good work, and that is, if you're in the UK, that's Linas or Linas at Design LS, Steve, as you know.
Yep.
Steve got me onto this guy. Steve found him somehow. I don't know how. He does all the leather parts.
I think it was Instagram.
Was it?
Yeah, I think I just came across his work on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you've heard me talk about my leather parts before. If you want really good quality leather parts, I mean, like I said, Linas Design LS makes for Porsche centers as well, and Porsche specialists, I think. But it's a good place to get any type of leather part for your Porsche 911. Check that out. It's just a quick recommendation, a quick shout out to Design LS. The website is designls.co.uk. All right, Steve. Anything else? I think we might end it.
Oh, really? How far are we?
We're actually just over an hour, so I think that's good for today.
Yeah, you're having audio issues too, so it's probably a good time to kind of pack it up. Yeah, just call it quits. All good.
Yep, I can't stand it anymore. Okay, thanks, mate.
All good, mate. Have a good week. Hope work doesn't stress you out too much. Hope the MG doesn't stress you out too much.
The MG's fine. It's fine. It gets us around. That's the main thing. It's a public holiday here in Bahrain anyway for the next 2 days. Doesn't make any difference for us. We're still working anyway.
Yeah, right.
But I have to say, I'm really enjoying the heat. The 40-odd degree heat. It's actually really, really enjoyable.
I'll take your word for it.
All right. Thanks, mate. Talk soon.
Cheers, mate.
All right, everyone. That's Steve coming in from Sydney, Australia. My name is Michael Barth. I'm in Bahrain. And that's it for the PorscheCooled Podcast today. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.